we're just getting back going here. It's a Saturday afternoon now. Last night, about 11:30 at night, one of the water pump bearings in the stock roll went out on me. So, had to get parts and everything this morning. And then it was kind of spitting rain this morning, so I wanted to get everything that we had loaded taken to town. And so, yeah, it's what, about 2:30 now, and we're finally getting going for the day. So that's kind of normal. I mean, it is what it is. planner guy likes to make some sharp pork here every now and then.
It is something to be thinking about as you're planning, that you have to harvest this at some point, I suppose.
Yeah, but sometimes you think about it, and then you don't want to raise the planter again, so you just keep going. Even though I know I'm going to be the next guy, I still say, the heck with the next guy.
Yeah.
It is easier to back up with this than it is to raise and lower and reset the marker on the planter again. Chances of there being a half-inch nut sitting here in the toolbox. take it. You take 4 rows in first when you go along the wood. That way, if there's any dead trees or anything, then you can come back along and have some room to maneuver. Not that there was much there to knock over, but
I was just thinking, did you ever ride with your grandpa when he farmed this or not?
no. My first time being down here while farming was happening, I was the one doing the farming, and that was after my Aunt Della passed away, and then her husband Dave and my grandpa, they parted ways after that. Before that, her husband Dave pretty much did all like the combining, or one of his boys. And then after my aunt passed away, then it became mine and my brother's job to do this for him. And being as I was the older brother, all of the important jobs had to be done by me. And so that was my brother could do nothing right when it came to farming stuff in my grandpa's eyes, because he was the younger brother. So yeah, so this farm down here, I pretty much, other than being just a little kid riding around some occasionally, I didn't hardly do anything on it until I was sort of the primary laborer, or however you'd want to say it. But
And that would have been when you were in your teens, right?
yeah, it would have been in about 2005, 2006, so I would have been 15, 16, something like that. And yeah, I was in high school, happened to come down and plant my grandpa's corn for him and pick his corn and stuff like that. And granted, at that time, I mean, he was only planting like 25 acres of corn down here, and we chopped. He never spent much money on fertilizer or anything like that. So the 16 by 50 silo down there, we would fill that with silage, and like I said, he never had very high yielding corn, so it took the majority of the 25 acres. Probably took 15 of the acres to fill that silo, and then there was only about 10 remaining to combine all the time, which usually yielded about 100 bushel the acre. So it was like about 4 250 bushel wagons full filled it. But that old Massey combine, that was sort of a chore to push 10 acres through that. But I mean, for the most part, I would not go back to the Massey in any way, shape, or form. But As far as down corn goes, that 1144 Massey head worked much better. Or maybe maybe I'm not doing adjustments right to the snoots and everything on this thing, but I remember one of the first years I picked this down here, the corn was almost laying flat, and it seemed like with that head, I mean, I pretty much got 90% of the corn, you know, picked up and stuff. But this head, I struggle with down corn with it, but it just doesn't seem to move over the snoots like that one did. And trust me, that head was not shined up. It sat outside 365 days of the year. It was nothing fancy, nothing, you know, whatever. But this head follows corners better. I'll give it that. But that was a 750 Massey with that 1144 corn head. And I don't know if any of you viewers know anything about 750 Massey combines, but like the grain tank wraps around the cylinder and the straw walkers on the combine. So you have a lot of weight down just, you know, 4 feet off the ground with that tank. So it actually felt really nice and stable on the side hills like this. You didn't have the tank way up 10, 12 feet in the air, or whatever these are, full of corn, you know, being top heavy on you. It was actually kind of nice in that respect. But the cab was much smaller, not near as quiet as this one. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go back, and it seemed like it was always a battle to get a good grain sample out of it, to get, you know, either you were, you know, grinding it up to get it all off the cob, or, you know, it just, and of course I was, you know, 15 to 25 years old when we had that Massey, and my dad was busy doing their own farming, so my dad was around very little to help us, and then my dad has not been the one to run the combine over the years either. So I mean, I have had very little, like, you know, help on this farm as far as that goes when it comes to learning how to do things. And my grandpa was 82 by the time we came down here and started helping. So he was not somebody to how would you say it, very much of a mentor, you know. I mean, he only yelled, like that was his language, was yelling. And so he was not the most I did not retain a lot from him when it came to that aspect, let's put it that way. Plus, like I said, he was just very old school and how this new machinery works, you know, newer machinery, and you know, I mean, in his mind, 100 bushel corn was totally acceptable. And I mean, why would you want any more? Why would you fertilize more than that? I mean, that was just the way he was. And so we put the crop in for him from 2006, I think, would have been the first year that we put it in, to 2010. We put it in for him, and he paid us for doing it. And we fed the cows, we did everything for him, baled hay, all that stuff. And then in 2011 was the first year that it was, my brother and I operated it on our own. And so, like, and again, you know, we would bale this farm. This farm's about 80 acres total, and it always seems like there's roughly around 50 acres of hay. And for like first crop hay, again, he never fertilized anything, never hardly had any alfalfa growing, just old grass. And we would maybe get 50 round bales total. And I mean, now, you know, since we've taken it over, I think we've got maybe 45 acres of hay down here, 40-ish, something like that. We definitely don't do as many acres of hay as he used to, but we get about 150 bales first crop. So, I mean, the fertilizer and the better rotation and all that stuff does go a long way when it comes to that stuff. So